Are the Bolts back? We had a wild finish in LA. Are the Penguins for real? And a new flyer comes up big. Details on that coming up on this edition of Locked On NHL Game Night.
When that final horn sounds, you know it's time for Locked On NHL Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. Prepare to experience game day reactions like never before. Only on Locked On NHL Game Night. Your team every day.
Hey, hockey fans, welcome to Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day. Thanks for making Locked On NHL Game Night your place to get a recap of the night in the NHL during the regular season and playoffs. We are available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube. Today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. I'm Eddie Garcia, an LA Kings fan on the West Coast. He is Shukri Wrights, a Boston Bruins fan on the East Coast. Together, we are here to tell you about all the goals, saves, big moments, controversies, and stories from the night in the NHL, with a big assist from our Locked On local experts that cover all of the teams across the NHL. Shu, busy night. It wasn't quite the Frozen Frenzy, but a lot of action to get to.
I mean, it was the next best thing after the Frozen Frenzy, but it certainly was a very busy night, and not to mention a milestone night in the Sunshine State as well.
Well, let's start in the Sunshine State, where it was the Lightning hosting the Stars, maybe the matchup of the night going into it. Tampa Bay would pull out a hard-fought 2-1 overtime victory in this one. Anthony Cirelli with a gorgeous goal to end it for Tampa Bay. Skates from the down all the way down the ice, end to end, and ends it with a beautiful backhander. Both goalies were strong in this one. Nice goaltending matchup. Andrei Vasilevsky finished with 20 saves for Tampa Bay in the win. Jake Ottinger with 30 saves for Dallas. So not a lot of scoring in this one, but a lot of good hockey. And in the end, a great individual effort wins this one overtime for Tampa Bay.
It was huge. And you talk about the Lightning, for a team that got off to a slow start. They have certainly been playing terrific hockey coming into this one. So have the Dallas Stars. But the Lightning, they continue to find different ways to win, and they are looking like the Lightning teams of old, in which that they're winning on high-scoring games. They can win low-scoring games like this one. It was a 2-1 game in OT. I mean, Anthony Cirelli being the hero tonight. And man, you talk about a terrific battle in that between Ottinger and Vasilevsky, and that's exactly what we got tonight down in Tampa Bay. But in terms of milestones, man, congratulations to Tyler Seguin, who played his 1,000th game in the NHL. And along with, they had a ceremony commemorating Nikita Kucherov, who scored his 1,000th career NHL point recently as well.
And as you mentioned, for Tampa Bay, they got off to a 1-4-2 start, but they have now won 4 in a row. So it looks like the Bolts might be back on track where a lot of people thought they would be. So if that was the best matchup of the night going into it, I think it would be fair to say maybe the Devils at Sharks was the biggest mismatch of the night. But that's not the way this one turned out, as maybe the top team in the NHL, New Jersey, loses to the San Jose Sharks by a score of 5-2. Let's get a report on this one from the host of Locked On San Jose Sharks, JD Young.
I feel like 2005 all over again with a big win over the New Jersey Devils. The Sharks, with their Heritage 2.0 jerseys, jump out to a 3-0 lead. And like we saw the last time these Sharks and the Devils played, they get hemmed in their own zone for a good chunk of the second period. But lessons learned as they string together a couple good shifts, and then all of a sudden put up 2 goals to make it 5-1. And then the third period, they were able to go into coast mode. The Sharks team starting to learn how to win a couple games here. And the offense has been getting contributions from the top 6. The Wenberg, Eklund, Khrushchev line, every player on that line had goals tonight. And the Sharks got big-time performances from Dmitry Orlov and then Alexander Nedeljkovic in net. So Sharks take down one of the best teams in the NHL, the New Jersey Devils, and feels like things are starting to come to click for this Sharks team. So I'll have more on your next episode of Locked On Sharks, wherever you get podcasts. Of course, you can watch on YouTube as well.
And thanks to JD Young for that report. Sharks have not won a lot of home games recently. I think there was a 9-game home winless streak dating back to last year that they were able to snap in this one. But there's a lot of young talent there. But as JD said, trying to learn how to win.
And that's going to be the key in San Jose for a team that, you hear the term like rebuild a lot, but that's just the reality of where they are currently. And you talk about like tonight, for me, what impressed me was seeing like some of the unsung heroes like step up and getting contributions in different parts of the lineup, most namely Alexander Winberg and Philip Kurashev. And I think like watching like the San Jose team, like they've shown it's not so much the fact of their ability to score, but then as well as more of the fact that there is no quit in this team, and that's what has impressed me so far about the Sharks, in this one. And man, like this one was definitely a mismatch on paper, but that's why you play the games, because anybody can get beaten on any given night, and you would think that the Devils would basically outrun, quote unquote, the Sharks in their building, but the Sharks came out ready to play tonight.
Just the third loss of the season for New Jersey. They're 8-3, just the third win of the season for San Jose. We had the Oilers hosting the Rangers. Good one in Edmonton, ends up going overtime, where New York pulls out the 4-3 victory. Let's check in with our local expert, the host of Locked On New York Rangers, and that's John Chick.
I'm not usually that person that yells shoot at the TV every time the Rangers have the puck, but I will say on that overtime winner by JT Miller, you better believe I was yelling shoot. Didn't want to see the Rangers force a pass that wasn't there. You got the captain going in one-on-one, basically one-on-one with the goalie. You want to see him pull the trigger. You want to see him, look to win the game and be aggressive. The Rangers did a hell of a job in this overtime. You had to kill off an extra minute and 20 seconds of power play time for the Oilers to begin the overtime, and that's a difficult situation. The Rangers were able to pull it off. And what I love about what they did after that, in the overtime 3-on-3, they were aggressive. Their 2 overtime games before this one, both of which they lost, thought they were just way too timid, way too tentative with the puck. And tonight, they weren't playing not to lose in that 3-on-3 overtime. They were playing to win. And JT Miller, when he got the puck on his stick, he didn't hesitate, got the win. Hell of a win for the Rangers, 2 in a row. And going to be breaking it down on the next episode of Locked On New York Rangers. Do not miss it.
All right, and thanks to John Chick for that report. And the Rangers continue to be, well, something I'm very familiar with as an LA Kings fan. We'll talk about this later, but they're great on the road. They're not so great at home. Now on the road for the Rangers, 5-1-1, but at home, 0-4-1. I don't know why that's the case. Oof. It's very weird, but the Rangers continue to be road warriors.
Road warriors is the right term. Perplexed? Yeah, you should be, Eddie, because, it's one of the stranger aspects about the early season that if you're good on the road, you're bad at home. But if you're good at home, you're bad on the road. And the Rangers, for all of the problems that they've had this season at home, I think tonight was pretty much an indication in regards to like why, if they're able to put it all together, they can go on a bit of a run. But here's the thing. The Rangers, there are times in this game where you're wondering, are they going to shoot the puck? Or are they going to be able to capitalize on their opportunities? Because there was a point in the third period where it looked like Edmonton was going to pull it out. But man, when you talk about the Rangers and just sticking with it, they did exactly just that. And at that third period, I thought really I really spoke volumes in terms of exactly doing that. But as far as the Edmonton side is concerned, Darnell Nurse, who I've long been a personal fan of, he had a huge night tonight, scoring twice. But man, like in terms of the Rangers, you gotta appreciate what they were able to do in terms of sticking with it, and as well as being able to ultimately tie it up on a Radish goal at 3-3 at 12:04 of the third period as well.
We had a wild finish in Los Angeles and maybe a controversial finish, the Kings fan says, as it was Kings Red Wings. We'll give you the details on that next here on Locked On NHL Game Night. Hockey season is obviously here, and nothing beats getting out to the arena to catch a game, but let's get real. Getting tickets can be a total headache sometimes. Between waiting in queues, surprise fees, and prices that jump right before checkout, it's easy to get frustrated when all you want to do is cheer on your team. That's where Gametime comes in. It's the app that gives fans the advantage. It's your ultimate life hack for scoring amazing NHL tickets fast, easy, and stress-free. I love that you can see exactly what you're going to pay for. There's no hidden fees, and you can also see the view you're going to get from your seat with their in-app seat view feature. Their zone deals are a game changer. You pick the section, Gametime gets the seats, and you save big. You can even find NHL tickets for under $25. Take the guesswork out of buying tickets with Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL. You'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. That's code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. All right, we are continuing here on Locked On NHL Game Night, and my LA Kings were hosting the Detroit Red Wings in this one. Nice matchup and a wild game in LA, which was the final game of the night, and Detroit pulls out a 4-3 overtime win. However, the Kings thought they won it in overtime, but a goal was disallowed, goalie interference. We'll get more into that in a minute, but let's get a check-in on this one from the host of Locked On Detroit Red Wings, and that's Brian Fisher.
Just an absolutely insane finish in LA. Detroit plays a really good game. It's 50-50 game against the Kings pretty much all night long. Up 3-1 thanks to 2 Marco Kasper goals with 2 minutes remaining. Kings pull their goalie and just score 2 goals. Quentin Byfield and Corey Perry make it 3-3. All of a sudden you're going, oh, okay, 2 points secured from going, oh no, we're at risk to only getting 1 point in this game when you had a 2-goal lead with 2 minutes remaining. Then Kings go to a power play, and with 37 seconds left in the power play, in overtime, Fiala scores. I come over here to record a loss, and it's waved off for goaltender interference. It was clear as day, but in the moment, the emotions overrode me. I didn't see it. And so it goes to a shootout, and the Red Wings win. They're not going to be happy with blowing that lead. It's 1:30 in the morning. It was a win. I'll take it. Crazy game.
Thanks to Brian Fisher for that report. Now, he's right. In the moment, I don't think anyone thought it was going to be goalie interference on Kevin Fiala. He skated into the crease and put in a rebound to end it. And I will say this, the call has been consistent from the NHL. I'm not arguing the call in this game. What I hate about some of the goalie interference calls is that there's no longer any contact that's allowed if you're in the crease, even whether it had the rule's supposed to be, all right?
Mm-hmm.
Is the goaltender prevented from playing his position?
Yep.
The contact that Kevin Fiala made with Cam Talbot. First of all, Cam Talbot initiated the contact. And second of all, he was never going to make the save regardless. However, the NHL has been consistent that if you make contact with the goalie and you're in the blue paint, doesn't matter if it's incidental, it doesn't matter if it prevented him from playing his position, they wipe off that goal automatically. I don't like that rule. I think they did apply it consistently in this case, but I don't like that rule. You're taking away goals for reasons that goals shouldn't be taken away, right? And I like seeing goals. I think goals should be scored as often as possible. I don't think there should be rules that prevent goals taken away when there's nothing that happens in that play that was affected by that contact. That's the LA Kings view of it. I don't know what your view is on incidental contact or contact with the goalie and goalie interference, but it is one of those calls that is controversial in the NHL.
It is. And I think that, and as well as the offside ruling on goals, are two of the most controversial ones in my opinion. But this one tonight left me completely dumbfounded. Like, what are we doing? I'm not arguing the call either, but it's absolutely maddening to watch, thinking that, hey, the game is over. Only 90 seconds later, oh no, game's not over. You play on. And my thing is, at what point are we going to have like a definitive understanding in terms of like the players, doesn't matter what team it is, like what you can and what you cannot do. I thought tonight was an example of like a goal that should not have been disallowed. And this it's been kind of like a reoccurring theme in the league, like recently, especially this season in particular, where goals are being lost or being called back because of quote unquote goalie interference. For me, I think a game that comes to mind for me, I think back to the Flyers Hurricanes game a few weeks ago as being an example of that. The Flyers think that they won that game in OT, but as it turned out, nope. Game goes on, Hurricanes win that game. So Eddie, I absolutely understand your plight and your frustration completely. But outside of that, this was one hell of a game. But it was crazy, though. I will say, but I'm with you in regards to the rule. It is rather frustrating to say the least.
I mentioned the Rangers. The Kings are in the same boat. 5-1-2 on the road. 0-2-2 at home, and this was the best home team in the NHL just a year ago. So I don't know what's going on with the Kings on home ice so far this year. They thought they had the win in this one, but it was not the case. We had the Blackhawks at the Jets, and Winnipeg rolls to a convincing 6-3 win. Let's check in with our local expert, the host of Locked On Winnipeg Jets, and that is Harrison Lee.
In a massive 6-3 victory against Chicago, the Jets' top line and top stars all went ham. Between 3-point nights for the top line players and some spectacular opportunities from guys like Josh Morrissey and some greasy little goals here and there, the Jets had an evening to remember against a Chicago team that's a lot better than it was last year. Harrison Lee from Locked On Winnipeg Jets here, coming to you after a big win. This was a game where the Jets were pretty comfortable from start to finish. They've needed a win like this. I think they all feel a little bit of relief that they can just wallop on an opponent every once in a while. So many recent games have been close margins. This one wasn't. From the front to back, the Jets really controlled this game. They won big, and it's a sign of things to come, and hopefully an omen of good tides as guys get healthier. We'll chat about this game on tonight's episode of Locked On Winnipeg Jets. See you there. Have a great night, and as always, go Jets go.
And thanks to Harrison Lee for that report. Winnipeg, I mean, they won the President's Trophy last year. Some people may have thought maybe they take a slide or a step back so far this season. It hasn't been the case. The Jets are 8-3 now on the year.
I mean, they haven't. They've kept the train going, and you know what? It was one hell of a night for the Winnipeg Jets for various different reasons. Jonathan Toews, playing against his former team for the first time since he's had the 2-year hiatus due to illness, and it was certainly a wonderful thing to see. He had an assist in this game, but honestly, the story of tonight was certainly Gabriel Velarde, who had the 3-point night, the 2 goals and the assist. But as mentioned, the top line was absolutely just stellar between Scheifele, Kyle Connor, as well. And for me, this Winnipeg Jets team showed absolutely no signs of slowing down this season after winning the President's Trophy a year ago.
Yeah, Mark Scheifele getting his 9th goal of the season in the win. How about the Pittsburgh Penguins continue to be a very surprising story early in this NHL season? They pick up a 4-1 win over the Minnesota Wild to improve to 8-2-2 on the year. The Penguins didn't get their 8th win last year until November 27th. They get it before the end of October in this one. So a very nice start, and everybody kind of contributing in this one. You had Brian Rust, Ben Kendall, power play goal, Anthony Mantha, all scoring in the third period to put this one away. And Tristan Jarry, a guy who got sent down last year, allowed 1 goal on 27 shots to get the win. So it's all falling right early on for the Penguins.
Eddie, you may call me crazy, but I think in the early going, as we are now about to enter Halloween, no pun intended, true story, that I think the Pittsburgh Penguins are the biggest surprise in the NHL so far in this first month of this regular season. And I don't think anybody expected to see the start from Pittsburgh, but especially I think a night like tonight where they into the third period tied 1-1, and then they just turned on the Jets. And Brian Rust continues to be a big story for the Penguins and for the season, but especially tonight, Ryan Shea scored as well. And Chris Letang, I mean, he's certainly turned back the clock, he's playing on 2009 and so forth. But man, in terms of what Pittsburgh's been able to do, they have continued to just find ways to win, even in tight games when it's tied 1-1, they just find a way to ultimately break the dam open.
Evgeny Malkin had another assist. You talk about turning back the clock. He's got 14 assists now.
Unreal.
On the season. We had the Hurricanes hosting the Islanders and Carolina posting a convincing 6-2 victory. Let's get a check on this one from the host of Locked On Carolina Hurricanes, and that's Zach Martin.
The Carolina Hurricanes win 6-2 over the New York Islanders to finish October 7-3. Bradley Nadeau gets his first NHL goal of his career in 6 games, and Brandon Busby gets his first career point with the assist on the Jackson Blake goal. Overall, great night by the Carolina Hurricanes, able to get back in the win column after the 2-game losing streak. And like I said, now they're 7-3 after October. What a great way to finish a month with the fact that you've got a plethora of guys out and still finding a way to dig deep, go for the next minute mentality. And now you move on to November. 7-3 in the standings, 14 points. You will gladly take that. And now you get to go and celebrate Halloween and have a good time. But the Carolina Hurricanes, no trunks, no tricks, all treats in tonight's game against the Islanders.
Well, thanks to Zach Martin for that report. Unfortunately, there was a bit of a trick in this one, as one of their top players, Seth Jarvis, took a shot off his foot or ankle. He had to leave the game, and reports are early on that it is not looking good, that he is going to miss some time for the Hurricanes. So keep that in mind if you're a Carolina fan. Also for New York, they lose the game, and they don't have Matthew Barzal in this one. He got benched for being late for the team bus. So not a great day for him, not a great day for the Islanders as well.
Oh, no, not at all. It sends a bad message in terms of like Barzal showing up late, which is something that I agree with the benching, quite frankly. But as far as the game is concerned, Carolina, they showed exactly why they are one of the preeminent teams in the Eastern Conference. And I think that if you're Carolina in this game, the way that I looked at it was, you saw a team that just found a different way to get offensive contribution. You talk about Nadeau, who scored his first NHL goal of his career. Congratulations to him, by the way. It really was just tremendous to see how Carolina, they just find so many different ways to beat you on any given night. They have a system and they stick to it. It's including Andrei Svechnikov, who had a beautiful goal on a wrist shot, no less, which was vital as part of the Carolina Hurricanes win.
Yeah, Svechnikov moved to the 4th line to try and get him going, and for him, he embraced it for now anyway. And so far, so good for Rod Brindamore, who knows how to push the right buttons most of the time. A Flyer pickup in the offseason has a big game in a Philadelphia win. That's next on Locked On NHL Game Night. The NBA is back, and there's no better place to get in on the action than FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. If you have missed the start of the season or you want to get in on the action, FanDuel has live bets on everything from who will score next to fourth quarter comebacks. Plus, you can even combine your live bets into a same-game parlay for a shot at a bigger payout. It keeps every game exciting, especially if your team's making that late push. Right now, FanDuel is giving new customers $300 in bonus bets when your first $5 bet wins. So head to FanDuel.com to sign up and play your game with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. All right, we are continuing here on Locked On NHL Game Night. The Flyers hosting the Predators in Philadelphia, taking care of business with a 4-1 win. And as I mentioned, one of their big offseason pickups had a big night. Let's check in with the host of Locked On Philadelphia Flyers, Rachel Donner.
Philadelphia Flyers defeated the Nashville Predators 4-1 on the backs of another great game from Trevor Zegras and Dan Vladar in net. Hi, I'm Rachel Donner from Locked On Flyers. Trevor Zegras is now the team leader in points, adding 2 goals and an assist to the board. More importantly, we saw Matvei Michkov do what he does best with some great puck work and 2 assists to show for it. Hopefully this kickstarts some more offense from him and he gets some goals on the board. Dan Vladar was once again outstanding in net for the Flyers, making 31 saves on 32 shots. The Flyers defense was not great, especially early with the breakouts and zone exits. Vladar was there to make key stops to keep them in the game. Speaking of that defense, Jamie Drysdale had an excellent game once again, including scoring that elusive blue line goal for the Flyers. It's only their second from a defenseman on the season. We'll have more on this game on the Friday show of the Locked On Flyers podcast.
And thanks to Rachel Donner for that report. A lot of people wondered if Trevor Zegras was a Philly guy. I mean, he was in Anaheim. He was known for the flashiness, not known for a guy who gets his nose dirty. You know, there's a certain stigma about Philadelphia, like, you know, the tough guys and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But so far, so good for Zegras in the city of brotherly love.
It's been a home run, and it's something that I've talked about, or even on my show on 97.5 The Fanatic, in terms of Trevor Zegras and how much of a fit he's been in terms of offense, his willingness to get into the dirty areas, his ability to create and generate offense, not just with the goal scoring, but be able to show his ability to find the open man on the ice. And it's been very much evident so far. And I think that one of the big reasons for the Flyers' success, another surprise team in the NHL, is because of the fact that you're finding different ways and different ways to generate offense, but then also like your willingness to demonstrate a gritty style to your play as well. And you saw plenty of it tonight. And as well as not to be forgotten, Travis Konechny, who figures to be on Team Canada's Olympic roster potentially. I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he ends up on the roster, but man, in terms of Zegras himself, definitely he has been a key cog into the Flyers' early season turnaround as well.
We had the Blues hosting the Canucks, and Vancouver gets a 4-3 shootout victory. Kiefer Sherwood, who's having a fine year for Vancouver, a hat trick in this one for the Canucks. Goal 7, 8, and 9 on the season. And then in the shootout, it was Jake DeBrusk scoring the only goal of the shootout to get Vancouver a nice road win. However, the St. Louis Blues are streaking in the wrong direction. We'll check in with the host of Locked On St. Louis Blues, and that is Haley Taylor Simon.
Blues get a point, and at least we have Dvorsky and Snuggie. But what was that during the shootout with Braden Shen? He completely lost control of the puck. I am sure he feels horrible about it, but even when the Blues could potentially win, they still find a way to lose. I also wouldn't have had Braden Shen go third in the shootout. I would have actually had Dvorsky, considering the fact that Coach Montgomery said that the one thing that he liked about Dvorsky was his ability to shoot. I don't know when this team will win again, but I do know that this is the first point that they have received in 9 days.
That's 5 losses in a row. I'm sorry, Taylor. Yep, I like that if you're watching on YouTube. But it's no laughing matter.
I'm trying to be as professional as I possibly can, Eddie.
With the Blues losing 5 in a row. Get it together. But I'm sorry, I even got that wrong. 6 in a row now for St. Louis. They've lost in a row. 6 in a row for St. Louis. So sorry for fact checking that one. But yeah, not going well for the St. Louis Blues right now. Sorry about that, Taylor. We had the Bruins, your Bruins, hosting the Sabres. This one goes overtime, and Boston gets the 4-3 victory. Let's check in with the host of Boston Bruins, Locked On Boston Bruins, and that is Ian McLaren.
Husnudinov is an overtime hero for the Boston Bruins as he sniped an absolute beauty to beat the Buffalo Sabres here on Thursday evening. Now, the Bruins were up 3-1 in this game. They allowed the Sabres to come back and tie it, but thankfully, Husnudinov got them the 2 points here in a much-needed win. They're starting to build a bit momentum here. Had that 7-game losing streak. They have now won 3 of their past 4 games. Now, there is some cause for concern as Elias Lindholm had to leave this game with a lower body injury and did not return. We'll see what his status is and whether or not John Beecher comes into the lineup or they have to call somebody else up. But the big storyline, Hoosie with the overtime winner. The Bruins get the 2 points against a division rival. Morgan Geekie also staying red hot. He's got goals in his last 6 games, which is just unreal. Catch Locked On Boston Bruins for all the absolute latest.
All right, thanks, team, for that. Yeah, 9 goals on the season for Morgan Geekie. David Pastrnak gets his 7th as well for your Boston Bruins.
This was a tremendous win for the Bruins. And like the thing that really impressed me was in terms of Kuznetsov is the fact that he was able to play to play meaningful minutes and be able to bury the overtime winner for the Bruins. I think more than anything else, like it's a great thing, and it's a great it's a great sign to see that Morgan Geekie has continued his scoring touch from last season into this season, which is impressive to see that he now has a goal streak of now 6 games, which now includes 7 goals in that stretch as well.
Big night for Jonas Korpisalo in net, 37 saves, the number 2 goalie for Boston, getting the victory in this one. And last but not least, we have the Senators hosting the Flames. Ottawa gets the 4-3 victory in the shootout. Let's check in with the host of Locked On Ottawa Senators. It is Ross Levitan.
They never led. The Ottawa Senators find a way to get 2 points. I'm Ross Levitan from Locked On Sens, and it was a late goal from Jake Sanderson to bring this one to overtime in a game where Ottawa continued a number of terrible trends, like allowing the first goal, which has happened in now 10 of 12 games, and the opponent's power play haunts Ottawa's PK. The Senators give up 2 power play goals tonight, but they find a way to win. To call this an win would be an understatement, but they did have some standout performances we'll talk about on the show tomorrow and what this brings confidence-wise going into a weekend matchup against the Montreal Canadiens. Tune into the postcast for more, and tomorrow on Locked On Senators, your team every day.
And thanks to Potty Mouth Ross Levitan for that.
Wow.
He said the word ugly and it got bleeped out. That is ridiculous. Can't say the word ugly anymore. And he didn't bleep it out, by the way. That's a program that we use that puts the text on your videos, and they bleeped out ugly. So maybe they're bleeping me right now as I say that. I don't know, but
I'm speechless. That's probably the best thing I got right now. But in terms of the game itself, yeah, I agree. Like in terms of Ottawa, they've got to figure out, stop allowing the first goal of the game. That's number 1. Number 2. It's good to see that the young guys like Jake Sanderson continue to help find ways to keep Ottawa afloat, and as well as Tim Stutzler and Drake Batherson as well. So like this all in all was a good win for the Ottawa Senators against the Calgary Flames, who right now they're just trying to just basically stay afloat, or at least find their identity in terms of who they are.
if you want complete coverage of your favorite NHL team, there is a Locked On NHL team podcast for your team, except Calgary, but we're working on that. YouTube show podcast for your favorite team. You need to find it and you need to follow it, and they will keep you up to date on everything going on with your team. As for the league and the games, when they're all concluded, we're here for you on Locked On NHL Game Night each and every night during the regular season and playoffs, giving you all the stories from the night in the NHL. Don't forget to like and subscribe to this show. If you're watching on YouTube, share your thoughts as well on anything that happened in the night in the NHL. That's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NHL Game Night. For Shukri Wrights, I'm Eddie Garcia. Thanks for listening and watching Locked On NHL Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your teams every day.